It was my faith that allowed me to survive this because I was really crushed. I was really crushed. Teresa Martin affected my heart and my soul because I really loved her so much just off of the strength of her being a grieving mother, and I knew nothing about her. I was calling this mother, and I was sitting with her trying to get justice for her child when my mother was on what would have been her deathbed. And because I was so committed to her child getting justice, I opened up my entire life. It was not just fun and games. It was the criticism, it was the lies, it was the slander, it was people living in my home, stuff I never talked about, people eating my shit up or stealing stuff from me. It was us having to buy things that would have no value, like air mattresses and shit, having to clean up after people, literally having to transport people, trying to do all the logistics. That woman had every bit of us. And it wasn't just me. It was day in, day out, 24/7 it felt like. And we went from fighting for justice to getting jail support for those who needed it. We literally were on the line for this case. And people had come together to the point where even when it was supposedly over, people around this country didn't process well, having to have a huge disconnect. And we went on to continue to try. But it was the drama of this case that made what would have been a very powerful movement in our day be reduced down to a bunch of drama, a bunch of accusations, and a bunch of infighting that never would have been. She had the greatest space because she was the mother that birthed something that literally could have changed a lot of lives, and all she had to do was get justice. She didn't have to give words. She didn't have to give resources. She didn't have to convince anybody of anything. She didn't have to explain her past. She didn't have to explain her dealers, who she was connected to. All she had to do was just be the mother who was getting justice. And I look back at those days to how amazing it was, to the point where we would show up and thousands would respond. And the systems of the world were literally shaking because it wasn't just America. This was around this world. KENNEKA Jenkins' case touched this world. She became a world global figure literally because of the fight. We surpassed every stumbling block, financially, media-wise, investigative-wise, governmental-wise. Everybody was confused and everybody was afraid to even go against this system. Celebrities was reaching out. I lived this. I was there. I didn't even care about the stuff that didn't add up. I just wanted her to know that I would fight for her and I would fight whoever. I stood by her and stood beside her, even when I knew, wait a minute, this doesn't make total sense. And all I wanted, she could have got all of that, then left with $3.7 million. She could have created something that would have sustained the love. Not just give herself a new body, but she could have created something that would have given the body of J4K something that would never be diminished or go away. And all of it was traded for lies, slander, manipulation, and greed. And that hurt me. That hurt. So when people want me to not respond, I want you to know that the most terrible way to suffer is silent. And I did it for 8 years. And no matter what I said, it made the suffering intensify. And it wasn't silent because I didn't have a voice, but it was silent because I didn't have an ear. I was like a fish in a fish tank screaming on a frequency that people could not hear because they were convinced, even though they saw differently. That was horrific. But beyond anything else, one thing that I will never forget is looking in the eyes of my own mother, and my own mother bewildered, saying, why do you allow yourself to go through this? People don't appreciate you. And my mother said those words out of her mouth to my ears. She said, as a mother, How do you think I feel watching what's being done to my child? And I know you. And I could never do anything for that because I didn't even understand what she meant to this day. I can't understand what it means to this day. But I will never, ever, ever lend myself to this fight again. Because beyond all of that, I was still willing if we was gonna make every wrong right. So now, y'all got it. It's now your burden to bear and your cross to carry. I've asked it and I'll ask it again. Free me from this case. I have nothing else to offer but my experience, and that is what I'm going to be focused on going forward. I have no interest in her mother, in their money, in their connections, in whatever they got. I don't care about her internal suffrage. You reap what you sow. And I have to be honest, I am not feeling sorry for her. Because if what I said is true, if she had a cold heart when KENNEKA's father transitioned, if that's true, remotely true, if she benefited from that and mishandled the family members, then if she literally betrayed everybody who had her back, if she sold out her daughter to get injustice, and if she didn't care about who had to re-experience the pain and the brunt and the disappointment and the attacks just for her to reclaim a feeling, then every demon that she feels is every demon she invited. And that's the thing that I know. Demons are legalists. They don't come unless they've been welcomed in. And when you sell your soul, unless you truly are repentant, and that means change the course, not just speak the words, but when you sell your soul, you will find no rest. I hope it was worth the temporary satisfaction. No amount of money